You're listening to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network.
Here we go now. 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 All right, enough of that. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to share the video. And if you're listening to the audio version of our BRAXTONS recap, be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. I wasn't sure if I was going to be in for the rest of the season. I will say last week's episode, which we did recap if you missed it, check out our playlist, The BRAXTONS. It was definitely more interesting and there was a lot more to talk about. This week felt like a filler. And I said to you guys before, every single person on this show needs the show, including Toni Braxton. And look, yes, I am of the age where I know Toni's legacy and Toni is a living legend, okay? But this is a consistent check for her as well. Because remember, there was a period of time where she couldn't do Vegas. She couldn't tour. Because literally in this episode, she's talking about this is my first solo show since the health scare that I had. Understandable. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them utilizing this platform to catapult other things. Some people on this cast need it more than others. Okay? Toni doesn't need as much as her sisters. I've said this already before. I feel like this show would not exist. Braxton Family Values would not exist if Toni did not sign on to do it. Hence, when we think about the psychology of the toxicity of this family and the reliance on certain people within the family, this is just another thing that Toni has to carry her sisters with. Now, if she doesn't do the show, the sisters can't work. Just keep that in mind when we're thinking, because I know a lot of people come down on the sisters and they come down on Toni like, oh, Toni's not innocent. But think about the pressure that Toni, as the breadwinner and probably the person that's taking care of her mother, her sisters. And I think that it's also fallen on Tamar as well. Just think about that amount of pressure and the resentment that comes from that. And probably not the resentment that she's even necessarily aware of. I know she's talked about it on the show, some of the resentment that she's feel. Just because you talked about it, just because you're aware of it, doesn't mean that you've healed from it. There's a big difference. There's definitely a big difference. So I want to talk about this week's episode because Tamar's working on a Calling All Lovers tour, which we've been talking about during the season. I still have not had a chance. It's been a bit, this week, y'all, has been so busy of just like appointments, this one, that one, going here. But I was just like, this, and now it's already the end. It's the weekend, and I have a few things I have to do today too, and this weekend, some self-care stuff, just things that look, got life. Look, life be lifing sometimes, but not in a bad way. I will say that people are dealing with a lot far worse than what I've had to deal with this week. So I'm not going to, because people are dealing with like they have to go to cancer treatments or people have lost family members. So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, can I open up to you guys? I was busy this week. Whoa, 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 Kempire. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, look, let me play the violin for myself. I had played it one time for myself, okay? We'll play it probably for some of the ladies of this show in a second. But today's recap, this is pre-recorded, just an FYI, but today's recap is brought to you by our friends over at Factor. Factor's got you covered. Look, before we even get into what I got to talk to you about when it comes to Factor, I had a couple of Factor meals this week. I got my little order this week, and I think I got like 6 meals or something like that. Let me tell you something, because it's been a few weeks since I've had like Factor, a couple of months since I've had Factor. OMG, I was like, oh, this really is good. I had and I mentioned this the other day. I had their chicken with the Yukon mash and the string beans. Oh, that was good. But then the next day, I had the chicken again, but with broccoli and the wild rice. And I'm not an adventurous eater, y'all. So I said, I'm just going to put trust in our partners over at Factor. And I was like, I like this. They did send me. I'm not a big eater of seafood. I know. All of you Jamaicans are going to judge me. I'm not a big seafood eater. I eat salmon, but it was salmon and shrimp, and I don't like shrimp or crab or lobster. Shut up. I already know you guys are judging me in the comments, and you guys are judging me in the look. I get judged enough. My entire family eats seafood. They like off the bone and everything, all the shells, everything. Not me. I don't like it, but I like salmon, and I do like fish, but without the bone and stuff like that. All right, okay. But our friends over Factors got you covered this fall, okay? Fall always feels like a reset between back to school, busier routines, and shorter days. Finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I personally love Factor. Their chef-prepped, dietitian-approved meals makes it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious no matter how hectic the season gets. And look, the holidays are right around the corner. But what I love about Factor, they've got something for everyone. More variety, more meals. Choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafoods, choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. More importantly, support your wellness goals. So even if you, even more GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good for you fats. And for more choices for better nutrition, that's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine. And I know what you're thinking, Kempire, what's the discount? What you got for us? Eat smart at factormeals.com/Kempire50 off and use code Kempire50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code Kempire50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. More details on Factor will be available in the description or episode notes if you're listening to this. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's The Braxtons recap. So let's get to this because I have a lot. I have a lot to say and I don't have a lot of time. Okay, so. Last week's episode ended with us at Tawanda's Bridgerton party. Look, everyone's budget is not the same. I saw what J-Lo did for her Bridgerton party. I should not, and you should not, expect the same level of dedication or expense. Everyone tried. Everyone wanted to have a good time. Fine. That's all I'm going to say about this Bridgerton party. So I felt like they were self-producing in this moment because they were like, let's make an issue of this. Her ladies of honor were late, and her other friend was sort of like, Tawanda was like, oh, they need to go to ladies of honor school, and her friend was like, I will make sure of it. I'm just like, what is happening right now? It was Atlanta traffic, okay? That's what it was. The ladies do eventually arrive, and they start the festivities. Trina arrives late as well. Trina decides to tell us that she's not wearing any panties. And Trina says, well, this is what they did back in the day. Lies, lies, lies.
Lies!
No, lies. This is not what they did back in the day. Back in the day, if anything, it was like they had a pair of pants as underwear under those garments. So never take history lessons from Trina. Because I was like, Trina, I don't recall. I feel like they were very demure back in the day. They had full-on trousers basically under those dresses. And then Trina heads on over to a grassy spot to take a whiz. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I think they feel, this is what happens when you're on reality television for so long. You start to become a caricature of yourself because there were some funny and quirky moments, not some, a lot of funny, quirky moments from the sisters over the years. And I feel like now, how many years later, they're just like, let's recreate that same old moment. And it's like, you don't have to do all of that. If anything, I'm cringing at your big grown self going to take a, at least she said she had a piece of tissue. Because I was like, what is happening right now? This is ridiculous. Again, you're historically wrong. Then you're also disgusting. And why are you? And the fact that Tawanda's going over there with her and laughing about it, I'm like, this is Bridgerton. So there's supposed to be a level of class and sophistication that's supposed to go along with this. And I know what you're thinking, Kempire, did you see the costumes? To the lady that says she loves me in the comment section of my last review, I said that, but you got to get rid of the wah, wah, wah. You must be new here because y'all keep trying to tell me what I can. Look, if you don't like what you're getting here, you don't have to be here. No one's holding you. I appreciate the people that love the things that we do over here. And even if you don't necessarily love it, you power through. Right? Right. Y'all see my little holiday, my little gingerbread. Isn't this cute? Hold on, let me get it out of my face so you can see it. Look, I got this from Marshall's, y'all. Marshall's. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. You know I love my coldest water bottle. These people aren't sponsors. My coldest water bottle keeps my water cold for 36 plus hours. Kempire 10 discount code still works. This is very flimsy. Look, this is very flimsy. I'm like, what is, you get what you pay for, but it's the holidays. Oh, I'm sure Coldest probably has something for the holiday. I need to go look because it's cute. However, and for those that are listening, I have look, I didn't even close it. I have a Coldest, not a Coldest. Look, it doesn't close, y'all. Look. Oh wait, no, there it goes. Cause I was like, it's not closing. It's like glittered in like green. First of all, you know I love green. It's glittered, and then there's gingerbread men with little Christmas hats on. Really cute. But it's not Coldest. All right. Shameless plug. All right. So they have the party. They start doing, the bridal shower games where you take toilet paper and you try to make a wedding dress of it. Tawanda's being critical of it. She's like, no, you didn't cover it. Her breast is showing, blah, 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 blah. Fine. Tawanda is opening up her. Tawanda, look, I get it. Every bride, even though if you've been married before, are going to have feelings and be excited. But this has been her whole personality. I'm not saying that she's a bridezilla, but this whole like, oh my gosh, I'm getting married. I'm less sort of like, I don't know. It feels a little put on. I don't know if it's just that it doesn't feel believable. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just watching. I'm just sort of like, how old are we? I get being excited, but she's like, I'm a bride and da-da-da. It's just like all the, I don't know, maybe because I've never been a bride. Woo, 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 Kempire. Look. Woo, woo, woo. I got two different ones. Yeah. Anyway, so Tawanda's fiance gives her something in a blue, what was it, a Tiffany's thing? I don't even know. I don't even care. Congratulations. We'll have to bear through it when she gets married too, because that looked like a situation as well. That looked like a situation as well. All right. Let's move on to the next scene. So Tamar is prepping for the Calling All Lovers tour, and it's a celebration. Well, remember, she did a Love and War tour as well. It celebrated how many years of Love and War. So she did something very similar for Calling All the Lovers for that project. So she says the reason why, she said it was a very special project, was the project that followed Love and War. Did she call it the sophomore project? Because that technically wasn't our sophomore project, right? That was like a third album. Anyway. So Tamar is in rehearsals for this tour. And you know what I found to be interesting? Because remember we talked about the photo shoot last week and she was so mad because the creative was not what she wanted. And she was just sort of like, this is like ridiculous. And I told you it felt really pre-produced. It felt like they were just trying to force a conflict resolution moment kind of thing. Like they were trying to produce a moment here where she got upset. She's like, this is not what I envisioned. Why am I holding a martini glass? I should be holding like a beer. And I said to you, this feels so forced. And like, why wouldn't you even know what the concept for your photo shoot is going to be? And then here she says, when she's prepping for this tour, she's like, I'm very hands-on. And I'm like, this contradicts, but I'm not surprised when it comes to Tamar. You have to pay attention to Tamar because Tamar talks out of two sides of her face, basically. Wait, she's a Pisces, right? Don't they have the two fishes? Sorry, Pisces. This your girl. I know you all going to be in the comments and in the live chat. We don't claim her. Well, whoa. Apparently her astrological sign does, though. Okay? So I found that this was a non-starter. You know what I don't like about the Braxtons, the show? I get it. They have to pay maybe like a ton of money in order to have them sing the actual songs that they're singing. But it shouldn't cost that much if you're just going to show us 30 seconds of her doing like something, you know? I was so annoyed even watching when Tony was performing in Miami. And I'm just like, we can't even get a little bit of the song? Not even like 10 seconds? Like what is going on? It's so annoying because especially when the show is about a singing family. And yes, they sing here and there, but they're classic Tony songs that we wouldn't mind hearing, just even if it's a small bit. How much is it going to? I mean, look, I don't know. I haven't had those conversations. I haven't seen how much it would cost. I do know it costs. This is why on reality shows, a lot of times when you see they're having an event and they're dancing, they're actually dancing to copyrighted music, but they play different music, so it looks weird when they're dancing to these like weird copyright free music. I get that, but when you're producing a reality show, and I get the budget probably isn't there, they much rather put that budget in their own pockets. I mean, can I blame them? But for the viewer experience, it's sort of like, it kind of takes away from it. I don't know about anyone else. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't need to see Tony and just her posing and we can't hear a word of, breathe again or 7 whole days. You know what I mean? Like, we can't even get 2 seconds of that. How much is that going to cost y'all? Production, I know you watch. Can y'all let us know how much, or if you've worked in production before, how much is that going to cost? Because I think it would make these episodes far more entertaining and interesting, to be honest. Lord. I mean, come on. Anyway, so Tamar's practicing. Again, we don't even know what she's singing. All we hear is just like her making, you see her performing, but we don't hear her singing. And we hear her directing her crew about like, oh, let's change this, let's do that. You got to get your vibrato together, blah, blah, blah. These scenes, again, just to promote, okay? Just to promote what they're doing in their lives. Fine. This is about their lives, right? Okay. Then we get another scene. Speaking of promotion, Trina, as you know, has gotten into real estate. She says she's now working on Face on Love. He's looking for some sort of property. Okay. So Tawanda and Miss Evelyn come to see her, and Tawanda brings her a gift to celebrate this new career, her job. Why are we giving Trina alcohol? Didn't we talk about Trina having I'm not saying that she was an alcoholic, but wasn't she talking last season about overindulging? I just feel like she can continue to drink. That wouldn't be one of the things that I would gift her. You know what I mean? Especially in the office. You could give her all kinds of really cool things, maybe monogrammed, a notebook or things or pads and pens. I'm not giving her alcohol. Especially because when she gave her alcohol, I don't even know what type of alcohol that was, but it would look like it was in a plastic bottle. Sorry, no, it wasn't good alcohol. What in the Tito's? Even Tito's is in glass. I was like, all right, fine, okay. Because it's one thing if you're going to give her a nice, beautiful bottle, maybe, something, but it was sort of like, yeah, let's chug a lug. What in the? You might as well give her a 40, okay? Lord, I'm sorry. Look, when you look at Toni Braxton, you look at even Tamar. When you look at Tony and Tamar versus Trina and Tawanda, it's like they never grew up in the same household because Tony and Tamar seem to have a little bit of like, maybe because they've had access to money, but so have the other sisters. It's like even Miss Evelyn carries herself like in a certain stature. But Trina and Tawanda, it's like okay, but I guess everyone doesn't have that. Okay, not to judge, but I was just like, Lord, has some sort of coof. All right. So anyway, so Tawanda questions Trina because she says that she's been acting different. This is also another moment where I feel like they are self-producing. Because she keeps saying like, I sensed something was off with Trina. And I'm not saying that we can't sense when things are off. It just felt like you knew something was off. You knew you wanted to bring this up. You knew you wanted to set up a scene so that Trina could talk about Vaughn and his congestive heart failure because she has not I don't know if I believe she did not tell Tawanda about this or why she had to leave. I don't believe that. But they're trying to create, it feels like after the whole Ashley of it all fell flat in regards to continue to talk about that, even though they still are, that they had to produce and figure out what they're going to, if they're not talking about fighting with each other, what else are they going to produce in these scenes? That's what it feels like. And look, I get it, production. You got to create a season. You've signed on. You've received a budget. You've have a commitment to the network to produce something. But some of these stuff feel like such filler. A lot of the stuff feels like filler. When we talk about the first, 4 episodes, the first 3 episodes, you kept on showing that one scene where they all meet up. And they kept on regurgitating that over and over again every single episode up until this episode. Even in this episode, they're still showing it. So it says to me, that's all you guys have this season. But we'll wait and see. I don't think I think last season was only 8 episodes. I hope it's short because I can do a short season. You know what I'm actually looking forward to? And it'll be on the E Network. Back in the Fab Lane with Kimora Lee Simmons. Oh, I'm ready for that. I'm excited for that because that, I've been watching reality television since The Real World. So I'm not new to this, okay? I haven't been talking about it on this platform since then, but I'm a connoisseur of reality television. And I used to watch Kimora Lee Simmons' reality show. And here's the thing, reality shows. What I loved about Kimora Lee, it wasn't just about creating drama, even though it was sort of ahead of its time. It was ahead of its time of this sort of like workplace drama. Some of it was self-produced, but it worked because she was a big personality. She's still a big personality. So stay tuned. I'm committed to recapping that show. Just saying, E. So if you see this, send me the screener, okay? Just say I'm ready. I'm ready to recap it. And now the girls, her daughters are not girls, women. They're women now. So I'm looking forward to that. That's coming in December. That's a Christmas gift to us all, right? Right. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy and free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. And everything Kempire is available in the description, along with, if you want me to do a happy birthday for your anniversary, my cameo's in there. The podcast information is in there as well. Also, don't forget, because Bethany Frankel pointed this out, a week later, no one's really talking about Jamaica. There's still ways for you to help Jamaica in the description. So if you were looking for a way, you want to make a small donation, or you want to share those links with other people, feel free. I also understand it. Not everyone has it. There are people struggling right now. People are trying to, groceries are high. People don't know, holidays are right around the corner. I get it. All right. All right, back to this. So Tawanda brings up the fact that she's noticed that Trina has been a little bit different. And Trina, she's a little hesitant. And then she tells them that Vaughn has high blood pressure and that she's found out that he has congestive heart failure. So there's a lot of things that, that's been on her plate. And because of what he's going through with his health stuff has caused her to have her own high blood pressure as well. Okay. So she says that that's really been her focus during this time. So she reveals to them what's been going on. And then Miss E's over there with making sounds. And they kind of look at her like, okay. They also talk about Tony is going to fly Tawanda and Trina out to Miami for her show and for a sister fun weekend. Okay. Again, this was another reminder to me. It feels like this is probably what Tony probably has always had to do when it comes to her sisters. There's probably been all kinds of things that she's had to take care of when it comes to her sisters. This is just, I think, this is an important detail that I think we have to think about when we think about why Tony might not want to be around her sisters all the time. Because it always feels like maybe she feels like she has to do something for them. And sometimes maybe when they bring up something that they're struggling with, she's probably thinking in her head, is she bringing that up because she wants me to pay for it, or she needs my help, or, she needs my resources? Think about that. That's a lot of pressure for someone. You know what I mean? And she has her own health issues as well. That's another motivation. She talks about that when they're in Miami. She's like, I completely understand not feeling well because any given day, she could wake up and not feel well. All right. Moving on from there, Tony's Miami show. So Tawanda isn't feeling well. She did fly to Miami, but she isn't feeling well, and she's staying at the hotel to just sort of rest up. But she'll see Tony the next day. But Tony's getting ready for her Miami show. It's her first solo show since getting sick. And emphasis on solo show, because I know you're all going to think, but didn't she do the Vegas show? Remember, she did that with Cedric the Entertainer. Okay? And so this is her first solo show. It was a big show. You saw those people? So she's getting ready, and Trina comes to see her, to talk to her. And she explains to her, like, I'm nervous about this show because we didn't have a lot of time. We had 24 hours to turn the show around because there were a lot of changes. Because, remember, she shared some of the musicians and background singers that Angie Stone had, and they were just in that accident. So Trina's like, I'm ready to, jump on stage and do whatever. Remember, for years, Trina, Tawanda, and Tamar toured with Tony as her background singers and dancers. So they could easily, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that Tony has done over the years that she still does in her shows. But Trina's clearly joking. She's like, I'll come out on stage if you need me, pop it and do all the things. And then Tony's like, oh, calm down right now. I'm starting to see the vajayjay. Okay. So Trina does end up coming out on stage when Tony dedicates Breathe Again to Angie Stone. And because you remember, Angie Stone was a family friend to her as well. So this was a moment for the show, but also this particular live show for Tony to dedicate to Angie Stone. I mean, just the thought of it, I can't believe it. I just saw that, what was it, like a week ago? They had the homegoing service for D'Angelo also this year. Very, very sad, but this was a beautiful moment for Tony. Again, this was, I think, another reason why it stood out to me that they're not playing the music. I would have loved to hear Tony and Trina. There was video footage that was online where you can actually hear it, but this would have been a beautiful moment to hear Tony and Trina, because they're talking, but then you see them, they're talking in their confessional, but you see in the moment Trina singing. I'm just like, Breathe Again. I'm like, this would have been a great moment. Like, how much are we paying for this? And there I go freezing. But you know what I'm going to do? And no, I didn't change the wire. Mind your business. Mind your business. But yeah, so I just feel like that would have added to the moment, just sort of seeing them breathe again, like something, like it would have been sweet. I think it would have added to the emotion of the moment. Anyway, moving on from there. So the next day they meet up at this yacht. So Tony pays for them to, because she wanted to make this up to Tawanda because she missed Tawanda's event, her bridal shower. So she rents out this yacht. Now this is a yacht. So they come in, there's food laid out, but it's super windy out. Tony's late yet again. Tony looked great. Tony comes in, her hair is all whipped around, and they're like, oh my goodness, girl, you need, what did they get? A dingle hopper. You remember from The Little Mermaid? I have to say, whatever she did, I don't know if someone actually gave her a comb. Tony ended up looking really good once she got it together. So the captain comes in and lets them know that because of the extreme winds, they won't be able to go out in the yacht. But they could sit there and enjoy the food and each other. And that's exactly kind of what they did. They were just sort of catching up, and Tawanda was explaining to her, she just didn't feel well. She got hit by a car, and then she had the bridal shower, and she's been on go, and she also went on her bridal weekend too. So it all caught up with her. So she ended up resting the night before, and Tony's just like, I mean, I completely get it, dealing with lupus and with everything, that she's dealt with. So she completely understood. But they do agree that they're going to do a dinner at Mr. Chow's, Before we get to the dinner at Mr. Chow's, one of the things I forgot to talk about during our recap last week was this scene between production, the executive producer, OG, and Tamar. Because one of the big things that happened in that fight between Tawanda and Tamar and Tony and Trina was the fact that Tawanda brought up that Tamar allegedly, I don't think I need to say allegedly because I feel like in this scene between Tamar and OG that she confirms that it did happen. She gives us the actual date. So I want to play the audio. We're playing this under fair use. I'm going to have to play it stop and go. We TV do not do anything to us, okay? Oh, we also got to talk about how fans are slamming Trina for supporting K. Michelle because K. Michelle and Tamar have had their issues over the years. Oh, we got a lot to talk about. Buckle up, y'all. Buckle up. But first, let me just play this scene. I'm going to stop and go just to react to certain points. So this was a scene from last week's episode 3, I think. I don't know. All right.
Tell you, like, we can't be fighting like this.
Well, then they shouldn't fight. Thank you, love.
The thing about it, though, is that, like I've been around y'all for a very long time, and I love you guys, all of you guys, right? Mm-hmm. And I've never really seen it like...
I've never seen it like that either. It was so much hate. It was so much anger, and I don't know where it came from.
Okay, I have to pause it there. When I was watching this, I watched this like 5 times again recently because I was like, there was so much hate, there was so much anger. You were the one to get it started. Like you came for this dinner to get it crunk. And she doesn't know where. This is my problem with Tamar. And I'm not saying that Tony, Tawanda, or Trina are innocent. But this is my problem. And I've said this before because everyone's like, well, this just reveals that Tamar is not the problem. No, she's a part of the problem. She's a part of the toxicity. Because we have to also keep in mind, too, how many other fights has Tamar gotten into with people, public beefs with people? The most recent one was Funky Dineva. But we could talk about Candy. We're about to talk about K. Michelle. There's so many people that she's worked with. There's been so many things on social media between Tamar and other people. So it can't just be the sisters, okay? And even here's a perfect example of Tamar not taking accountability.
You know, the whole Ashley situation, they got upset with me because I reached out to her and I was willing to give her a platform to tell her story and support her. And they didn't like it. And so they all stopped talking to me. And so I am not supposed to bring it up. I'm not supposed to say anything. The only thing that brings us together is the cameras. But I am the one who likes an audience. I was not.
You do.
Coming back to this show to be the old school Tamar that I never want to revisit again. I was very clear about that. And here I am today.
She doesn't want... Has anyone noticed a difference in Tamar from Braxton Family Values to Tamar right now? It's giving the same narrative. I'm in therapy, I'm changed. I have not seen a change.
Again, having to defend my character. And it's really disheartening because my sister Tracy is not with us, and this is not what she wanted. What makes you so angry that you want to do that to your little sister? For Tawanda to bring something up that happened in 1995.
So this is where she confirms it actually did happen. 1995, Tamar was 30 years ago. Tamar would have been 18 years old.
We're in 2025 right now. Help me understand.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out, when did we fall out?
Tawanda's getting married.
We have to also keep in mind, and I'm not making excuses for Tawanda because we went down a whole rabbit hole talking about Tawanda and her alleged thievery. But remember, Tawanda brought that up in response to what you said in regards to stealing from her. I'm just saying, we have to remember.
Supposed to be
Good for
all
Tawanda.
coming together as a
Tawanda
family.
hasn't talked to me since the last Braxton taping. I mean, obviously, I love my sisters. I came back to a show that I vowed to myself that I would never come back to.
So she's saying, obviously, I love my sisters, and I came back to a show that I vowed I would not be coming back to. Why are we pretending like, Tamar, you're not benefiting from being on this show? You are the executive producer. You're making a bag from this as well. why are we acting as if, yes, this helps your sisters as well, don't get me wrong, but this also helps you, and this is why I started this live recap by saying everyone here benefits from this show, some more than others. Tony benefits, but she doesn't benefit as much as Tamar. Tamar benefits, but Tamar doesn't benefit as much as Tawanda and Trina.
Love and dedication for your family. And what I get is a cease and desist and all of these...
We still don't know who sent the cease and desist. Who sent the cease and desist? Because when you get a cease and desist, it says the attorney sending it on behalf of who? We assume it's probably Michael Braxton, but they're not saying it. And it seems like she's blaming the sisters. Like, see, that's where I need to get to the bottom of. Who exactly's name is on the cease and desist? If it's a Trina, if it's a Tony, if it's production, let us know who sent it. Because I think if she did, it would kind of take away from why she's so mad. Because Tamar's whole thing is that she's mad because of the cease and desist, because people are trying to stop her, quote, business. So you're mad at the sisters? So who sent it? Which one of the sisters sent it? Because now you're claiming someone gave them your address, and we've all said like, well, no, you can be figured out. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of your sisters to give it, even if the address is not in your name. Because literally, you said in interviews that you live in the same building as Nene, and I'm sure you've mentioned it before to other people. So I'm just saying.
That is absolutely ridiculous and untrue.
You guys are sisters, and I've been a part of this experience.
But sometimes sisters don't like sisters. And they clearly don't like me. Fighting, standing up, throwing drinks.
Nobody.
I have to remind you, standing up, throwing drinks, that was you. You stood up first, and you threw the drink at Tawanda. I'm pointing these things out because it's important to note this is narcissistic behavior, y'all. There are a handful of people, people love to throw around that word narcissist, but there are a handful of people that we've talked about in reality television that show me clear signs. We talked about with Julia from Real Housewives of Miami and Tamar.
Having to defend myself, pushing.
Having to defend herself. She's victimizing herself now. Having to defend herself.
And I'm having to kick people and pull wigs.
I'm having to kick people and pull wigs. She kicked and pulled Trina's wig. Remember, I'm not saying that Trina wasn't the first to make contact with her, but Trina wasn't punching her. Trina wasn't pulling her. Trina used her hand to get in between her and Tony. Not saying that that's right either, but you hear what she's saying here, that she had to pull Trina's wig and kick Trina.
Like, come on, I ain't doing that. I have to protect my peace. I have to protect my son. And if I'm not well mentally, then I can't protect my kid and be here for my kid. I love my jobs and I love going to work. I love what I do. And I'm not getting ready to start with that kind of shenanigans. I can't waste my time with that. I can't. So they should film and have a good time. And I'm going to film and have a good time until somebody comes up to me and have a conversation. But I'm not interested.
I got you.
Yeah. I'm fighting for me. I got to put me first, Lucius.
Thank you.
I had to talk about this because there was just so much that I was like, I have too much to say that I need to talk about it during this week's recap of the Braxtons. If you haven't already, guys, be sure to like the video. Be sure to subscribe. There are a large part of you that watch the content but are not subscribed, so you're missing out on everything that we post. We post a lot of content, both short form, long form, and posts in our community tab, or what they now call the post tab. And shout out to our channel members. Some of you have been members for a long time. Some of you are new members. If you're a member, be sure to let us know. And if you want to become a member, there's all kinds of perks. I have 2 live shows from the summer that I'm going to share with our community, our community members. But our Club Kempire members, you already heard the Philly show. I've already posted it on Club Kempire on the Apple Podcast subscription. And I'm about to post the DC show. So stay tuned for that. If you want to become a Club Kempire member, head on over to Apple Podcasts. You can go via the website if you don't have an Apple product, or just go to the podcast app, and you'll see there's an option to subscribe for a free trial. You can do a monthly, or you can pay for the year. You save quite a bit when you pay for the year. Okay? All right. Let's move on. I sound like the damn BRAXTONS right now with the singing of everything. Okay. So we have these two scenes. They go back and forth. I'm just going to take it one scene at a time. So we'll first start with the sisters' dinner at Mr. Chow's. So they go to Mr. Chow's. Tony's late. Yes, of course. Okay. Tawanda and Trina say that Tamar's behavior was unacceptable. Okay. Tony, though, says that she's mad at herself for getting that upset. I don't blame her, because I don't know if it was real in that moment, because, again, we don't know what Tamar said to her or what name Tamar said. But Tony says that she was upset at the way that she reacted. Tawanda, though, says Tawanda basically in this scene is done with Tamar. And I can't blame Tawanda. And I'm not saying that Tawanda's innocent, y'all. She's far from innocent, okay? Like the criminal record shows. Far from innocent. But I will say this, and if I was just to take the Tawanda of it all, you know, we talked about this before, where we're advocates over here on this channel of not allowing toxic family members to remain in your life just because of their blood and your family. That is not good for your mental health. I am all good with you cutting off family members that are not good for you. And based off what we've seen of Tamar, not with her family, when it comes to other people that aren't family to her, that kind of behavior, I could understand where people that were once around her or friends with her or family to her would be like, yeah, I'm good on that. I don't need that in my life. I don't need that around me. Like me personally, I don't even know her. And I'm like, nope, I would not want to be friends with her. Would you want to be friends with Tamar? Let me know in the chat. Okay. All right. And mind you, I love Pisces women. I'm always around a lot of Pisces women. She's a different, but you know what we've been talking about? There are different versions of astrological signs. This is why it's important to know your moon and rising and your birth chart, but also understanding the healed versus the unhealed version of these astrological signs. Tamar, very unhealed. Very unhealed. All right. So Tawanda basically says that she's not accepting that behavior anymore in her life. She says that she's not compromising her peace for anyone, and that she brings up the fact, because Tony's like, well, how was she physically violent with you? She's like, she threw glass at me and the drink at me. Yeah. Trina says that Tamar says that she hit her first, but all she did was try to get between Tony and Tamar. And we saw the video footage. And look, even if Tamar was upset about her getting in between and touching her first, it did not warrant pulling Trina's hair from behind or kicking Trina. It didn't warrant all of that for her just saying like, all right, let's end, let's stop this before it goes too far. Okay. Trina, yeah, so Trina says that all she did was try to get between them. Tawanda says she doesn't want to have a combo with Tamar because Tony suggests, do you think that we need to sit down and have a conversation? And I think the toxicity of this family and the toxicity of this cycle of toxicity is because they're filming a reality show. So it's always going to be like, well, we're going to need a group scene. Do you want to sit down and have a conversation? So it's always going to feel like, oh, we have to sit down and have a conversation, and then what's going to happen? It will be interesting to see if we're able to kind of get back to a decent place. And I feel like they will, because they want another season. They do. They want another season. It's a toxic cycle. And what we're going to hear again, I don't hear from you guys until filming. And I don't blame Tamar for being upset, because I'm sure maybe in Tamar's delusional world, she's sort of like, oh no, we're family. We made up. We're all good. And then filming stops and she doesn't hear from any of them. Well, she hears from Tony. That's why I was surprised at the beef between her and Tony this season, because they're close. Literally, when we were talking about the verses with Birdman and Tamar was there, they FaceTime with Tony. So I was like, how did we end up here where you guys are fighting? But remember, she did block Tony at one particular point during the year. All right. So Tawanda says she does not want to have a conversation with Tamar. She also says that Tamar is definitely not coming to her wedding. I mean, after that argument, that fight, I don't blame them. I told you guys before, it wouldn't shock me that you're not able to get back into a better place after those types of accusations. Okay? So Tamar has a lunch with her friend Phil, who's a music executive and things like that. And they go to this place, I guess it's an Italian place. So this is where Tamar could be funny, because she's just like, this is Italian? She's like, I thought this was a Mexican place. It's called Fresco. And she's like, I guess this is what they do in Atlanta. This is what they do in Atlanta? Lord. All right. So Tamar says that usually before a tour, she stops drinking like a month before a performance. She stops like a week before, because she's a soprano and it affects her voice and things like that. All right. But she says because of all the drama with her family, she's been drinking a lot more. Okay. You got to be careful with that, Tamar, especially as a Pisces. Pisces are prone to overindulging in the liqueur. Just saying, giving advice, because I know you watch the content. All right. So she talks about that. Phil actually gives her solid advice. Phil basically said what we just said. He says, sometimes if you've tried and you've done everything that you can with your family, sometimes it's better for you to move on. And I will agree with Tamar. I'm sure people, close family, friends, other friends in the industry probably have said to her, no, you can't. You know that toxicity. You've been through this before. Let me know in the live chat. Let me know in the comment section. You've been in situations where you want to cut off family, but other family are like, you can't do that. That's your sister. That's your blood. That's your mother. You can't do that. And then you're stuck in this cycle of agony and toxicity, and it's affecting your mental health. So Tamar says, this is affecting me. She says, and you're telling me that I should just let them go and not be around my family, but then I have other people telling me, oh, no, you can't do that. That's your family. And people really feel the guilt over that because it's ingrained in you. You feel like, oh, that's not the way it should be. You're lucky to have sisters. You just lost a sister. I'm sure people are saying that too. You're going to regret it if you don't. I don't know if you'll regret it, to be honest with you. Especially if you feel like you really have tried to make peace. I feel like they're all the problem. I do. I feel like all of them are the problem. And maybe it's best that they love each other from a distance. Maybe? I don't know. Or, you know what it is? I think she can be around her sisters, but limited. Maybe not involve cameras. Maybe not do a reality show. That probably would help your relationship where, okay, we don't see each other all the time, but when we see each other, hey, how you doing? Cordial. There are some friends. I'm sure you have friends where you don't see them all the time. They're not in your life every day, but when you see them, it's a good kiki. Some family members have to be treated like that. But as I said at the top of this, a lot of these folks that are on this show, and it becomes this cycle in reality television where they feel like, oh, I need this show, I need this money, this is good money, this is a good check. So they force themselves to be in a toxic situation, and then all this other stuff starts happening. It's not a healthy environment. It's not a healthy environment at all. And with everything that they're dealing with, I'm surprised that they didn't involve some sort of therapy this season like they did last season. I felt like the therapist last season was actually very helpful. But I don't know. Maybe we will see it at some particular point during the season. They definitely need it. They definitely need it. But it doesn't feel like it ever helps. But you know what it is? I think they weaponize therapy. They use it for the show, but they don't really use it off of the show. Not all of them. I know Tamar says that she goes to therapy. Okay. So Tamar, so Phil gives her that advice. He says that maybe she needs to love them from a distance. I agree with that. Tamar says that everyone makes her feel guilty for leaving her family alone. And she says that they're toxic. I do feel like that's, kettle. Pot called kettle. There we go. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they're all toxic. And I feel like Tamar is also very toxic too. But she says that they're very toxic. Tamar says that she relives the conversation that she had with her sisters. And she says, Tony was acting like she was on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. She's trying to flip tables and everything like that. I mean, it was definitely giving that. It definitely was giving that. Tamar claims that Trina tried to get her lick in. So as she's describing the moment, she tries to make it seem. And again, we're watching an edited version. For all we know, maybe Trina did try to get a lick in when she was trying to nudge her way in. They've shown that moment after moment after moment. I don't know if I believe that. I think Tamar, she kept on saying she saw black. She blacked out. All right. But Tamar claims that Trina tried to get her lick in, so that's why she had to come back and pull and kick and do all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? Like, Tamar is not innocent. Tamar is toxic too. Because it shouldn't have elevated to you pulling Trina and kicking Trina while her back was turned. Tamar says that she always comes back to her sisters. This is where she gets emotional. She says, she always comes back to her sisters and she helps them. And look, if you look over the time of history when it comes to the Braxton family values, Tamar has been there for her sisters, all of them, financially. I don't know about emotionally, but I'm to assume she's been there emotionally as well for them. Okay. There are so many examples. We've seen it, okay? But that's not necessarily what everyone needs. Tamar gets emotional and she starts crying. I didn't see a tear, but I'm just saying, look, I would think she was trying to prevent. So she's, crying and Phil is trying to talk her through it. And she says she's like done. She's done with it. I don't think anyone, not near none of these people are done because they all want this show. They're all performing for this show. I don't know what to tell you guys, but it would be interesting to see where else the season goes. I felt like if I had to rate this week's episode, was kind of like a filler episode. I would probably give it a 5. I didn't feel like it was a good episode. Even like the other episodes, I feel like last week's episode was probably the most compelling because we finally got to the argument. But the first couple of episodes, they just kept on showing the same thing over and over and over again. But it was okay. It was all right. But I didn't forget. I did want to talk about people slamming Trina. Okay. And shout out to Erica De Niro. Because Erica's comment, I had to like it because I was like, I agree, Erica. Everybody worried about Trina liking or saying that she loves country music and she's supporting K. Michelle. Erica said in the comment section of the Jasmine brand, she says she should actually be facing backlash because she doubled down on a predator texting her niece. Boom. That is the comment. This is it. Like, that's what she should be receiving backlash for. I don't care who she wants to support. But the Jasmine brand writes this in regards to Trina. They said, Trina found herself at the center of an online debate this week after publicly supporting singer K. Michelle's upcoming country album, with some fans calling her move messy, given K. Michelle's long history of conflict with Trina's sister, Tamar Braxton. The exchange began when Trina commented under K. Michelle's post promoting her Bringing Nashville to Atlanta private listening event, writing, I love country music. K. Michelle warmly replied, come see me, Trina, DM me. I'll set it up. The album is great. These people are all in Atlanta. And just because K. Michelle has beef with Tamar didn't mean that she had beef. You think that means she automatically has beef with Tony? I know when it comes to family, we believe that, but that doesn't mean there is beef. While the interactions seemed harmless, social media users quickly reacted, many suggesting Trina's comment was ill-timed considering Tamar and K. Michelle's past public feud. The pair's dispute have spanned years, including multiple heated exchanges on social media and television, most notably when K. Michelle called Tamar a Muppet during a viral 2014 interview with Billboard. On X, formerly Twitter, fans speculated about Trina's motives. One user wrote, "If you're my sister's op, you're now my op. This is shady. You don't have to be their op. Just don't fraternize with people who clearly dislike your sister. Tony would never do that." Others defended Trina, noting her interest in country music and her history of supporting other artists. Still, many commenters interpreted her gesture as subtle shade following recent family tension involving Tamar and the Braxton sisters, including Tamar's own claim that her siblings have been distant. Under K. Michelle's post, several Instagram users directly called Trina out with comments like, "You are messy, trifling, and please don't do it. She is your sister." Despite the criticism, neither Trina nor Tamar has addressed the backlash publicly. K. Michelle's country project, part of her music pivot, announced earlier this year, is scheduled for release on November 8th. Excuse me, it's coming out tomorrow, her project? I did not know that. And you know I've been waiting on K. Michelle's project as well. You know what would be even more messier? She attends and they post a picture together. Okay? So I do see some of the comments here. Trina says, I love country music. And she put the little hands emoji, raising hands emojis. And you see Kate Michelle respond, "Come see me, Trina. Heart emoji, DM me. I'll set it up. The album is great." And I don't know what their relationship has been over the years in regards to this. But people were responding to Trina, "You are messy. These sisters are a curse." Another person responded, "Ew." Another person said, "Trifling." Another person says, "Please don't do it. She is your sister. I know you may be mad, but don't do it." Okay. Another person on X says, "Here's the thing. If your sister's op, you're now my op." Okay. Oh wait. So if you're my sister's op, you're now my op. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but this is shady, which we already read about. Okay. Another person says, "You don't have to be their op, just not actively seek to fraternize with people who vehemently dislike your sister. They would never do that to Tony. But Tony don't have beef with nobody in the industry like that, at least not publicly." Another person says, "That girl done said her sisters don't like her and the people told her to shut up." Another person says, "It's intentional shade. Tamar pulled Trina's hair, kicked her, cursed everybody out. Trina knew what she was doing," laughing out loud. Another person says, "Yeah, K. Michelle has made Tamar cry on national TV, calling her a Muppet. This ain't right at all." I'm going to remind you what Erica De Niro said in the comments section. She should actually be facing backlash because she doubled down on a predator texting her niece, which we've done a video about and talked about. So if you don't know what we're talking about, I've done videos about Trina Braxton and her responding to the backlash that she's been receiving for doubling down, not supporting her niece, but supporting her dead ex. And scene. That was by accident. I meant to hit that. Some of y'all say it always works out perfectly. All right. So Lord have mercy. How long have I been talking? Okay, we got a nice juicy recap of the Braxtons. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy, free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, because those reviews do matter. So if you're watching this and you haven't done that yet, be sure to head on over to one of those platforms and leave me a stellar review and 5 stars, okay? Thank you to our Kings Guards. Thank you to our channel members. Become a member today at TheKempire.com/join. And don't forget our sponsor, Factor, sponsored today's live recap of the Braxtons. And if you want to know anything about my skincare, the discount code for Butter, Kempire10, is available in the description. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you all. Happy Saturday. Be sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Don't forget to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for more information on the podcast, head on over to KempireRadio.com.